Yo, yo, yo. What's going on, everybody? This is We Don't Need Permission. New podcast coming to you all. Power to the people. We're going to start with some brief intros. Me, A. Mike. I'm Ade Kelly. Born and raised in this great city of Newark, New Jersey. Right now I'm in real estate and, doing some other things low key. Gonna pass the mic over to my brother Terrence. He's gonna introduce himself.
What's up, everybody? This is Terrence L Bankston, probably one of the greatest individuals you'll have the pleasure of hearing from. We are here today just celebrating just greatness, and it's an honor to be with my brothers who are here. Black History Month and really making history in real time. So I'm really about that particular life, supporting each other, uplifting each other, creating history, and just sharing visions together. What about you over there, sir? Governor in the house.
What's going on, good people? Altorice Frazier, born in Newark, raised in Elizabeth, tri-state individual, no boundaries, no borders over here. We making sure that we have no permission, man. We're not asking for permission. We're going to put the information out there and make sure it's granted to the community. What's going on, Sydney? Talk to the people.
Good evening, everybody. This is my name is Oscar Sidney James II, former councilman in Newark, New Jersey. I was elected at 24 years old.
Youngest ever elected.
And then transitioned into where I am now. Just a serial entrepreneur, real estate developer, political consultant, entrepreneur, just believer in dreams, a person who just wants to see all of us achieve what we want for ourselves and manifesting that destiny for ourselves.
Right. So basically, outstanding black man. That's what we got right here. So I'm just glad to be a part of this. And you, better than any of us, can explain and go into detail a little bit more, because this is your child. We don't need permission.
So I wouldn't call it my child. What I would say is we don't need permission. Starts out of a blog from my godfather. His name is Carl Sharif. Carl Sharif is one of the just most, I'd say, learned individuals I knew growing up. He came from that old school culture where they drop jewels on you that they don't tell you, and then they send you out here in the world to really figure out what it is that you're seeking. And in that, he would always, I would sit in his office, I would learn from the man, I would be under his tutelage, and he would just always drop these jewels. And one of the things he came one day, he was like, man, we need a 4-letter moniker like DKNY. I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, I just want to see shirts that say, a 4-letter that incites us to take action. And so I was like, man, I'm just in there, thinking of everything, like, because at the time DKNY was big and FC UK was big, French Connection, right? So it was like this catchy thing on these shirts, right? But like we had nothing for us. And so then the next day he came in the office and he was like, I got it. And I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, WDNP. And I was like, what do you mean? What is WDNP? He was like, we don't need permission. And then since then he began to flourish this idea and work on this idea. In 2008, he started a blog. You can actually Google this blog. It's still there. It's called the We Don't Need Permission blog under Carl Sharif. So I would Google We Don't Need Permission, Carl Sharif, or WDNP, Carl Sharif. And what I could say is, the first blog article that he put out was just simply amazing. And it kind of brings us to this night, right? Because it talked about the discipline of the brothers, right? The discipline of the brothers that usually have something to say. They kept their words and kept their words close to their heart and this was during the time when Barack Obama was running for office. And he talks about Jesse Jackson, he talks about Al Sharpton, and he talks about Louis Farrakhan, who we all know later on had their own perspectives on what Obama did and did not do for our communities or things like that. But during that time, during the election, when each time that they were offered that opportunity to throw that dagger, because they knew that's what it would be. Right. It wouldn't be promoting, it was going to be used to throw that dagger, that the discipline, that wasn't a spoken pact of these guys, right? That was the discipline of black men understanding that we don't need permission from you to support him, right? So I'm not going to allow you in your interviews to have me go offline about him and throw his election off. Because when Jeremiah Wright came up, they were ready, right? And so then all you needed was Jesse to drop a gem. All you needed was Al to start jumping on it. And it would have started to divide the black community. And then you bring in Louis Farrakhan. Now we've ripping apart this black man. And maybe it would have stopped his opportunity from becoming our first African-American president. So through that, it's really been a passion for me to keep this going, right? And so for where we started transpiring, because me and my godfather, up until the day he passed, we always talked about this idea, and we always really flourished it out. And we were like, yo, we need to stop these non-profit social service agencies. What we need to begin is a social justice movement that is focused on finances and that is focused on actually equity in the financial arena, right? For all of us. Because to ask for permission is always to ask for money, to ask for this, to ask, could you support me? Could you fund this? To not ask for permission means we have to start funding our own programs. We have to, the things that, my godfather comes out of the old school Muslim movement in this country. He believed in self-sufficiency. He was one point the school board president in Newark, New Jersey. So he understood everything from the movement on the ground of how to feed people to the highest levels of this city and how to educate kids and to move people. And what he did was, along the way, got tired of the bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy that just stopped us from actually being able to do what we needed to do, right? And that comes back to this moniker of we don't need permission. Because if we don't ask for permission to do the things that we know for our community, then we move our community forward. Instead of always asking people, you think it's okay for me to help my brother? Or do you think it's okay? I got this idea. I think I'm going to do. No, stop asking for permission. Stop. Start taking charge of your life. I am a God-fearing person. I believe I go to God first, and then after that, it's full steam ahead. It's full steam ahead, and try to figure out through that process, are doors opening for me. But I don't ask for permission anymore. I ask for forgiveness. So that's where I'm at.
I mean, that deserves a hand clap. So Altorice, hearing that and then even having him sell you before we even get on the mics, what mostly gravitated you towards, coming in here today?
Well, outside of these are my brothers, in the work of community building and engagement, to that point, it wasn't a sell. It's, like, you can't sell me. I'm 44 years old, been through a lot, and at the end of the day, it made sense to understanding that, like when you share that these social service organizations, everybody wants to service the community, service. While we can't partner with the community, right, and make sure that we're not fishing. We're making sure we elevating the game and showing everybody how to fish, everybody how to own a home, everybody how to start a business, everybody, come from case in point myself. I started Parents Engaging Parents, where I'm the executive director at, and I didn't ask for permission.
Right.
I went and seen a need and seeing that I can provide a fill to that need, and went and did it. And in that, I understand that as much as we focus on education, as much as we focus on the health, mental and physical health, even as much as we focus on social justice, if we don't bring home the understanding that the economics of what's going on in all of these systems, all these environments and communities that subject themselves on us with permission or without permission, that we have an economical value in everything. It's a price on our black bodies. Right. It's a price on us, yet that price is always one where we're being serviced versus we're being engaged. Jay-Z said, I want to work with you versus have you work for me, and that's why title exists.
Mm-hmm.
But people scared of that.
Right.
They're scared of that. They scared. When he said that, it scared people. It scared people to understand that he was not coming at you. He was saying that you'd rather go work with somebody else than me and you build what we need to build, right? You'd rather take that check from them instead of me and you put that work in, right? Because you're so busy looking at my pockets, right?
And I'm sure my brother Terrence can spear into it. Even when we talk about history, like you just said, that point right there. If we go back to history and we talk about the People's Grocery, and we talk about how that gentleman was lynched way back then, not because of anything that had to do with him looking at a woman, him doing anything too personally to white people. No, he was becoming financially elevated. Yet what they did not pay, what they didn't really understand, it wasn't him. It was the community, because they all owned that grocery store.
Right.
And and that's the power behind the people's grocery. It was just, we're gonna kill the head person that came and organized all you cats to get this money.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna take out. Yet the understanding of we had to come together, that been a part of our community. It's just they scared us out of it.
There was not one Black Wall Street. There were multiple black
multiple
streets
ones,
in
definitely.
different black communities.
But they only tell you about Tulsa.
That's
They
the
only
only
want you to know
That's
about
the only one
Tulsa.
that was given to us to understand.
Right.
Like I remember when I first came home in 2004, and people, oh, you guys gotta understand about Black Wall Street, Black Wall Street. So I'm like, yeah, because on the street, ain't nobody talking about Black Wall Street, to that level. So I did. But then when I found out, nah, Durham, North Carolina, nah, other places across America, that insurrections and things have had to stop black gaining and black wealth and black excellence is not something new. So, Terrance, talk to me in that perspective of, we don't need permission, and in the financial element of how we've come to this realization that we can't keep waiting. Like, we got to build our own worth.
I think that part of what connected Altorice and I, and it's important for me to make that distinction, even with you all day, but knowing Sydney for as long as I have, and really growing up in the trenches of Newark's politics without wanting to be or trying to be anything, just having the freedom even back then to just be who I was, a person that had access to City Hall, I had access to politicians. Some of that was because of maybe who my grandfather was, where my aunt worked at for many, many years, working for 3 different council people. But to know my family, they are genuine when it comes to serving North. And it never has been about a position. And that is something that's consistent on both sides of my family. And so for me, it's a natural fit. But I say that to say that I don't really know a lot of the advocates, the community, some people call them the usual suspects, or just folks who kind of move around this space and do their part, do their thing. And everyone has a right to paint their own picture and kind of tell their own story. But I don't really know them personally. I've had opportunities where I work with different people. I can tell you that Sydney and I are cut from a different cloth, not just based on experience and access that we've had over generations at this point, but for we are a movement in 2005. We weren't someone who just partnered with a machine or partnered with a lucrative movement and was put somewhere. We trailblazed and made history and empowered young people even back then. Empowered, not inspired, not stand on a stage and give a speech and have people clap for you, but put them in position. And I think about the entrepreneurship opportunities that Sydney created. Those things were real. That's not fake. When he could have focused only on Sydney at that time. The opportunity I had to start his nonprofit or Friends of organization, where we did a lot of community work, where for free, many hours. We would leave work and we would be meeting and programming and engaging all weekend, his after-school programs. All of those things I'm sharing because those things are not just real, but I was a part of all those things. So it's just a natural course. And even Carl Sharif being instrumental in my life. One of the things he did before he passed away is made a decision for me to be on Shavar Jeffrey's ticket. And as his campaign manager, and the citywide exposure that I got for that. And when you grow up in a climate like Newark, and you understand that politics is power, and you have to have power and access, you have to be at the table or you're on the menu. You have to vote your circumstances, so you have advocates in the room that you can trust to be your voice, right, or to represent your interests. When I saw that those kind of people were far and few, when I think about what Michelle Obama said, I know what it's like to sit at the table with frauds. I know what it's like to not leave that table and let a fraud think they fooled me, because that's an insult. That's going backwards. That's against what Dr. King stood for. That's against what Malcolm and everybody else that everybody want to quote, who were visionaries, who were courageous enough to be the difference. And so that's why I'm here. And part of what you were saying, Altorice, is because it's about what I always say. It's about control versus collaboration. And that's what we do when we get in power, and it's not many of us who are in those positions to do those things.
So one of the first things that I learned being in power at 24 years old, sitting at the table, right? So 24, you sitting at the table with all these guys who really come from the neighborhood, love the neighborhood, still in the neighborhood, started buying properties in the neighborhood because when I believed other people said these neighborhoods couldn't be turned around, we're turning them around. Buildings that people said were gone to people who I won't say are undesirable. People just didn't know how to talk to them. People didn't know what incentives to offer them because for years you've taken their education, you've taken their opportunity, you've taken their space, literally, right? And then you want to tell them with no opportunity to get out, and then we're getting ready to influx all these other people into this place, right? That you've only known, that only feel safe. And you got to get out of here because lack of exposure, I never even let you believe that you can go beyond these spaces, right? And so now when we want to fight over these buildings, these blocks and things, and they think we crazy, no, you're taking my essence of who I am, of everywhere I know. And then you never let me go anywhere. So now you want to take that from me and then displace me where? Where am I going to go? And so my conversation is a whole different conversation with these brothers about that lack of exposure, what they've really done to you, that program, that little money you think you got, what that really matters in this world when you start looking at the stock market and what it did last week and the things that Elon Musk and himself and Jeff Bezos keep trading between who's number one and number two, the richest man, depending on where the stock goes. Like, this is crazy because that matters to nothing on my little brother from the back block that's just figuring out how to put food on his mother's table so his mother less stressed when he walk in the house, right? And then let me just throw some glaring facts out at you about these situations because we've come so far, right? In this community, no, we haven't. No, we haven't. In 2020, the state of the black community is as this, and this is from a federal government commission report, right? So the federal government has this report, and it's called the Economic State of Black America 2020.
It hasn't changed.
It has not changed.
It hasn't changed.
The black unemployment rate twice as high as the white unemployment rate. 6.0 versus 3.1, January 2020. The median net worth for white families is nearly 10 times greater than for black families. The median net worth, 10 times greater. And we wonder, so why they distract us with our passions of Black Lives Matter and our fight? Yeah, they matter, right? But they're increasing the gap to make sure that we never get that opportunity to catch up during that time. Another fact is black households earned just 59 cents for every dollar of white households earned in 2018. And fewer than half of black families own their home compared to nearly 3/4 of white families. That's how we create wealth. There's the two major things that white families have that we don't have. They own their homes and they have stock portfolios that are passed down within generations. That allows them to create wealth within generation. And we are fighting from check to check just to pay rent to somebody else who's making money off our mortgages, off that rent, right? And paying their mortgage and then building wealth for their families. And I'm telling you because I'm one of those people in the city. What I do is fight to make sure that other people have those same opportunities because just as whatever was good for me is good enough for you, good enough for you, and all my brothers. There's actually enough for everybody to own homes in this and to really create wealth within our own community. But that's not the focus. There are institutional barriers that are in the way that stop this. And that's what this is about, to share the information, share the resources, and to break down those institutional barriers because we're going to stop asking for permission, right?
Well, I think
we're going to kick in these institutions.
I think that people are going to ask that, right? And everybody, sometimes when we have these conversations, even in our community, we'll use terms like the Pookie and the Ray Ray. And those are not the only people who make up our community. And the people who have those names don't necessarily have the mentalities that people are, or the limited capacity, let me say that the people are perceiving when we say that. So Newark is not just a bunch of Pookie and Ray Rays. And then when we say that, what do we really mean? And I always challenge people who go on that, what are we doing to help Pookie and Ray Ray? Right. Besides just naming them and pointing them out. And then what about the other people who don't have names like that, but are facing some of the same challenges, are still being evicted from their homes, are still not able to find sustainable employment, but we're seeing politicians with 2 and 3 jobs and collecting 2 and 3 pensions. So I think part of what Sydney is saying is or brings to light as well is the plan of action.
Right.
So when we say we're going to kick in the door, what does that mean, right? And whose door are we kicking at?
Right.
But when we also have these conversations, just how it's like that broad stroke or generalization, we should say. It's also the same thing when it comes to the issue of how do we fix this problem.
Right.
We talk about the day, and typically the day is maybe the white man or those in D.C. We have to focus on local leadership because that's the gateway to answering some of these issues. The community can't do it by themselves.
I disagree with focus. I agree with hold them accountable. But local leadership don't even understand entrepreneurship.
Well, that's a different. But that goes back to the older point.
COVID, we started to make a lot of rules and decisions
before COVID. That just hurt business. Before COVID, your point,
and not thinking about the entrepreneur.
Before COVID, your point was hold them accountable. Before that, these are employees for the public. Period. Most people don't understand that. If these people are not qualified to do a job, why do we keep putting them back in office? So it goes back to vote in your circumstances. How are people going to learn to do that? If we took civics lessons out of classes, if we're not talking to them about politicians, if we're not talking to them about boards, if we're not talking to them about how police directors get appointed, if we're not talking to them about how judges get appointed, to change the system, you have to understand it.
So that's why I believe in home ownership. Because if I promote home ownership and if you own your home, then you're more, and you're not paying just rent. See, that's why my focus is part of WDNP is to create a program where we put in the next 2 years we put 100 people in homes, home ownership.
And then how do we keep them there?
100, but that's the whole purpose of the social justice movement. It's not just to put you in a home and leave you there. Right. It's to put you in a home and give you the skills
to sustain it.
Give you the support. Right. Make sure we have the plumbers. Okay, so in the business as a real estate developer, what I have done and been able to do, and which we're going to continue to do, is amass a list of people who really want to show up and do the right thing and make money. Right. So this is how we keep the money within the circle, and having that list of actual contractors, plumbers, everything. So when something does happen, helping people create reserves.
We have a network too.
Helping people create reserves. So when that roof does go, right, what is it that we really do? How can we readjust that mortgage? What money do you have already in the home? Because it's a first-time home buyer, it's not just put them in an FHA program, get that first loan, and then get them out of here. No, it's almost maybe a 5-year advisory after that first purchase to ensure and to make sure they have all the warranties, the home inspections, those criticals, all the things that we've learned along the way that become pitfalls. Make sure your sewer gets scoped before you buy a house, right? Because one of the things we know in certain neighborhoods are these tree roots that you never know.
That can take a homeowner out.
That can take a homeowner out. Right. When you buy a house and the first 3 months in the house, you have, now for me that happened, right? But I was able to dig up my sewer, put a line in there. I had contractors to come. When the weather break, we had a reserve already because I was able to negotiate my home. But people didn't even know. One of the ways I bought my home was this, straight out. I knew they wanted $250 for my home, right? And I knew it somehow in the negotiation, I knew they had to get the $250, right? So this is what I decided. I said, you're gonna get your $250 because it's worth it. Let me see the appraisal. This is what I offered them $260. I said, I'm gonna give you $260, right? So you can get the comp and make yourself feel good, but I want $10,000 in concessions back. So you can get the $250 that you need, but now $10,000 is gonna get applied to my closing costs. So that cut my closing costs almost by half. People don't even know to do that. And it stretched it out on the mortgage over 30 years, gave them everything that they needed, and so it kind of seemed like I overbid it for the house. No. And then, so it put $10,000 more on my mortgage, stretch it out over the years, right? So I'm really not going to feel it. And then I'm already in the process of refining because of the way the mortgage rates are going right now, which even knocks that down, and I won't even feel it, right? But and then my house got appraised at higher than that $260. So I already have equity in the house, things like that. These are tricks that we need to help other people and teach people about this game so that if you did, and have the right insurance protection, right? So I could buy an insurance that with you right away and make sure you have the right coverage because it's all about that coverage. And
I think also is about the network that you talk about. I think is really important, right? A network you can trust and that's competent and resourceful.
They have to be held
because a lot of times
everybody's trying to make money.
We go on to lawyers that look not like us, and they're not going to teach you those
like
things.
Even the ones like us, too busy living a flipping lifestyle and want to be, and let's call it. We said we ain't gonna hold no punches.
Right.
No punches.
Right.
So what I can't have is me wanting to go to my brother and my sister, and my brother and my sister want to live like the 100-year established firm. You're not a 100 years established firm. You just got started, so you can't compete with them.
I say one, if you're going to use your own people, which I'm a supporter of that, right?
Absolutely.
That they still need to be competent and deliver a quality service. That's one. Two, just because somebody is white or a firm is white doesn't make it legitimate, right? And sometimes that is a sickness that we have in our community, is what I'm saying.
That's
also,
right.
But I think that goes back to then the premise of where we are in this beginning, right? Who are we asking permission from, right? When we look at the white man or the man with the money and we say,
well, I'm not conceding to that, but
we say, you have all the resources, so let me ask. But that's not always the case, right?
So what we're saying is we're not asking them to give us any resources.
Right.
We're talking about shifting the paradigm of thinking in our
That's
communities
or getting in the room to control the resources.
Well, I'm talking
about.
I'm talking about the fact that when you come together, you'll find out what resources you need.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's you start doing the work. But before you even could get there, before I could get in the trenches with you, I gotta get a paradigm shift to jump in those trenches.
Right.
Like, there's a reason I never got in no trenches. Like, it's a reason. I seen y'all down there.
Mm-hmm.
I seen y'all buying houses, seen you losing houses, seen you starting business, seen you losing business,
Right.
seeing the taxes get you, seeing Uncle Sam get you, seeing
Right.
your baby mama get you, seeing everybody get you, business owners, you homeowners, and even then when we take it, it's not even bred it into us to do these things.
Right.
And then when you add in the systemic racism that go into these things, the racial equity that is not applied into owning homes, you can get a house in Newark, but you can't get one in Livingston. Mm-hmm. Because why we can't have both?
That red line is real.
That was 100. It's not real. It's a factual.
It's reality.
And it's
tool that was used to do this.
And it's enabled by the people that we have.
No, they literally put laws in place because they know they couldn't stop it. Right?
I think that's part of the answer too. We have to start telling people there's a thing that say give it a name. We have to start telling people who they are.
Right.
Because that's part of.
There ain't no boogeyman.
No. But it's specific people.
They
the
are
problem here,
identified.
again, in our local communities, because we are so like a family, it's personal for people. Whereas it really is about business. We're talking about running effective government. We're talking about livelihood of his daughter that's sitting out there. My daughter that's 14 at home. Sitting these kids, the kids that you're going to have, all of a family
But to
unit.
that point right there, all right, this is the point. And this is where I get tired of people who keep going at racism. Bro, if it come down to my kid or your kid, now, because we're a family unit, I'm going to make sure all our kids, right, could succeed.
Right.
But when they look at us and don't know us, and it come down to our kid or their kid, they're picking their kids. They don't want to see affirmative action because that's less of their kids in college that they believe gets them to where they need to be.
But you're still, so they in that sense are what, white privileged people?
I'm not calling white privilege.
So I'm saying
I'm saying
I'm saying
an Asian person, an Indian person wants their kid to excel over your
but
child.
growing up,
But white supremacy.
Right.
But
They brought it to capitalism of this country that we have to eat each other to
But
survive.
see, but that's what I'm saying again.
White supremacy.
But that's also what I'm saying again. We're going back up to the national conversation.
Right,
about
but it trickles down locally.
But it starts locally and pushes up. The idea of starting nationally and coming down is the wrong approach. It's not. That has never been successful for black people.
No.
That's just like trickling in from downtown into the local neighborhood.
No,
That's just not the case.
What I'm saying is white supremacy is not a color in my headspace.
Right.
It's
Thank
the
you.
action.
Thank you.
It's
But that's
that
what I'm
the
saying.
same local people are doing white supremacy.
It's Jim Crow.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I'm
White
yeah,
saying.
supremacy is Jim Crow.
But we are not holding them. But they have the power to change the process, to force the change at the local level, and
Right.
they are not
Who,
doing that.
white?
No,
No,
I don't have
local
Asians
people.
on my board. I don't
Black
have.
people. Here.
Yeah, it's the people on. It's the people on our board of education. It's
But
the
to the
people
point-
on our commissions and state boards and
But to
county
his
boards.
point-
Those
To that
absolute
point, they're still
enforcement.
asking for permission.
Yes, they
Because
are.
They asking permission
They are.
to get there.
They are.
asking for permission
And
to
they
stay
asking
there.
for permission to
They
stay there.
asking
Yes, sir.
Permission to keep their check.
But they don't. But they don't ask permission to put their ass out of office or put their ass out of those positions when they tired of them, when they're not doing what they want them to do.
Cancel them.
they
We
gone.
get another
so,
one.
But and that's why I'm saying we have to stop being disposable
It's the same thing in the
like
NFL,
that, and we
But
have
the
to
same
stop
thing in
putting
the NFL.
disposable
The same
people
thing
in
in the
there.
One of the
NFL.
reasons
I'll
that
get me a new horse
Right.
that can run
Right.
faster,
Right.
run harder, and that's why we don't get the people.
But when you know your wealth, your worth,
Right.
then you don't put yourself in those
In that
complimentary
category,
positions.
right.
Because we got to remember, man, we're going to talk real.
But that takes
we gotta
sacrifice,
respect
too.
on how these people got there.
Right.
But you don't
Right.
know your
So
worth.
some of
Because
them.
if I know my worth, my whole worth was just to make it there. My whole worth was just to only be in the NBA.
And wait,
My
but
whole
that
worth-
also may not be
our
worth.
community, our whole worth.
What
is
about purpose?
NBA, rapping, Major League, NFL, or elected official, right? That's the dream.
But pause.
that's the dream. I
Pause.
don't see that
But
shit
you see how you
as
said
work.
or. That's another, and I want to, because we're making some good points. I'm taking notes too. But that's a very good point. In our community, that's another reason why it's challenging to
Right.
build work. We rear people to be one thing. You only can be this.
Right.
Ryan Seacrest can be 10 things, collect 10 checks legally, and it's okay.
right.
And he wasn't born with a silver
They
spoon in
call
his
it a
mouth.
portfolio.
Yeah.
They
Right.
call it doing too much.
Come on.
Right,
Yes,
right,
exactly.
right.
And we hate on that. And
All over
so,
the
because
place.
to your point,
You're a jack of all trades,
To-
master of none. But meanwhile, they got a business in 7 different categories.
Legally.
Diversified portfolio.
Legally.
Right.
That's how you.
Legal.
That's
But
how you
we're doing
obtain
too
wealth
much.
by
Legally.
diversifying your portfolio.
To the point, it's not even a secret no more.
Right.
Because when I was on the block, I sold nickel drugs. I sold everything.
A couple
Whatever
of
you
years
can do.
ago, they said you had to choose between hip hop, a culture, and politics, another culture. Years later, politicians running for office. I mean, rappers running for office all over this country. So, and hip hop started out with being that. It was about having a political voice. It wasn't about corporate money. Once it became about that, that's when white people were controlling it. So the whole, we tear down each other culturally. We got fast horses in here that don't need a white man whipping us to run.
Right.
We just don't support those fast horses. We changing that, but that is what we've been conditioned to be over time. In North, when they gave you a job at City Hall and you ain't support a candidate a year, 2 years later, 3 years later, what they do? Take your family, fire your wife. And that's not my story because I didn't put myself in those situations. Those are stories of people we know, that we love, and we admire. We were doing it to ourselves. The very thing that we're talking about, that's a national issue, that's a global issue. We have we the case study.
Well, I'm gonna tell you like this. For me,
One of the case studies.
One of the case studies, yes.
One of the case study.
Yes.
I'm gonna tell you like this. One of the things that hurt me the most, right? I was like, there was this lady, right, when I was in office. I mean, every giveaway, like every single giveaway that we did
And we
for
gave away a
4
lot.
years. For 4 years, every event, every block party. If we gave a hot dog, she was there to get the hot dog, right? And one of the hardest things for me to deal with after I left office was forgiveness of this lady. Like, I really had, because on election day come, right? And she's standing on the other side with a T-shirt on and everything. And I'm like, yo, you took every single thing free that I was given. That I don't even know how you had every event in your calendar, but you had it. This is because we weren't Googling, we weren't sending out text messages or anything like that.
No, but we were mailing, we were emailing.
But by the grace of God,
calling.
me going to church and really, really letting the word come into me and be me, right? Like living me, not just talk it, like literally letting that word came in. I found forgiveness for the lady, right? And I understood. And I understood since the beginning of the time it's been Judas and it's been people who do this, right? And I forgive them. And she's not, I don't even want to call her Judas, right?
Oh,
Because she was
definitely not
only
Judas.
doing
She's
what
surviving.
She was surviving.
Listen, you
She
giving
was
out
surviving.
First of all,
you
and
giving
was
out
surviving.
son. I'm gonna
She was
pick who I'm gonna
surviving.
vote for. I'm gonna
Word
vote for
is
regardless.
And
Right.
once I
Whoever
learned
got
that,
stuff,
once I
I'm
learned
in.
that, and I became better with myself in understanding that she was surviving and she was doing what she had to do to survive, I let go of a lot of stuff.
Right.
And so my whole approach for the community then began to a point where I got to stop having my people feeling like they got to eat each other to survive.
And I don't do it for a vote. How about that?
That's
Right.
what
I
was
tell,
going with.
I don't do it for a vote. If being conniving, if being manipulative, if being contradictory, meaning I'm gonna lose a vote, 100 votes, then I'm gonna do that. right? But it's also not about running for office. It's about running those offices, whether we're in there or not. Understanding how we are the power,
Right.
whether we are the educated one, whether we don't give up right now, whether we Princeton graduate, because Newark is all of that. We have a whole range of people here. And everybody can have that I don't give a F attitude. Everybody can have that we don't need permission attitude at a time. One of the things, and I want to talk about employment too, because I think that's so important to the home ownership piece and the sustainability part.
Absolutely.
But when I Googled permission for African Americans in America, is that what I said? I think that's the way well, yeah. Everything that came up for the first page, I didn't even click on the second page. Everything that came up was a government page, a high-powered, I took screenshots of it too, but a high-powered nonprofit entity, a major news source, and all of it is about when we were given civil rights, when we was given a right to vote, when we were, every single thing, every major link.
Right.
So when I hear permission,
Right.
it's a resentment, it's a bitterness there, because I don't even understand that concept. My two grandfathers were, to me, real men. They took care of their families. They fought for this country. One was considered blue collar, one was considered white collar, as they say, and rose to the ranks. And none of that, I never seen them have to ask for permission to own businesses, to own multiple homes, to really excel at all of the things that both of them did. And they were two different type of guys.
Right.
But yet with some core values. So when I hear that, I think us playing into that, us going to politicians saying, may I run for office? That's how I was reared. You know that. That's how we were reared here. You had to go ask permission to these godfathers if you can run. So we taught ourselves this bullshit that we're sitting up here saying now Carl was saying years ago.
Right.
Is a national, it's really a crisis that we have to dig ourselves out. And it's not going to be generations 20, 30 years ago getting us there. They can help us if they are on that side, if they want to be on the right side of history.
Right.
It's up to the people sitting right in this room,
Right now.
the people that's going to be listening to the podcast who says, I want to be on the right side of history. I want to be different. I'm going to be, and know this, you can't expect change or to be a part of history and not give up something.
Yeah.
So you may not be able to make a lot of money because you may not be able to work for the government if you're going to be about change, if you're going to be an independent voice. You may not be able to work for a nonprofit if you are really about political action. You may need to make a sacrifice and do something different to get by. But those are things that they died for this shit, bro,
Yeah.
to vote and things like that. And it's still a debate. I read something, 24 states is still messing with the right to vote for black people.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy. When you're talking about, what is it, 1965, it was really, the act was revisited. So we the system put us in a situation that even when I give you the right, after I free slaves, 5 years later, I give you the right, then I give women the right, but it's not really a right. And most people don't understand that. It's not law. It's to be a constitutional right that everybody has the right to vote.
Right.
It should never be that you can be so intrusive on a political operation.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's not just a national conspiracy. We do that locally.
Well, one of the things this country, the biggest contradiction about the capitalism in this country that I see, especially living in Newark, New Jersey, in the Northeast, right, is that they living in New Jersey, I basically grew up seeing all the wealth, right, that you could see from billionaires and people all around. I mean, Bentleys riding up and down 78, all kind of cars. Newark Airport,
Chauffeurs.
they flying in and out. Like, you go to Short Hills Mall and you just see ungodly amounts of wealth, right? And that's only 10, 15 minutes from, because I lived in the South Ward. So 15 minutes up the highway is just a whole nother world that they have no idea of what I live in, and I have no idea what they live in, right? And understanding that being so close but being so separated, almost, I think.
You wonder what side.
And then having generations of when you program from slavery to everything else in us, right? And you wonder why my little brothers act the way they act. Like, it's not crazy to me. It's crazy to everybody else. It's not crazy to me. All they trying to do is, they're not asking for permission on them corners and things like that. See, the game just changed over time, right? So at one point, when we had the money, we just didn't know what to do with it, because we were making those money in those communities. Over time, we didn't know what to do with it, right? And then the game changed. So now every little Tom, Dick, and Harry in the suburbs right now he's the connect now, and so they just through cell phones and technology, cutting out more of where it came from, right? Which was the hub of Newark, right? And I'm saying all that to say that people in the drug trade, people in the underground economy of Newark, that didn't come from us. We learned that. That was ran by Italians and the Irish mob who ran this city and ran this state. You go walk to Boardwalk Empire and see them same cats that was running crazy in Atlantic City. They was running crazy in Newark, running these docks and things like that. When we had no power, no say, we couldn't even get involved in the trade. So the fabric of this capitalism that I'm saying that we fight in this country comes from an underground undertone that we only learn. And you ain't gonna keep throwing everything in my face and then tell me I can't have it.
Right.
And then when I learned the game and I turned it up and added a little bit more pressure to it, now you want to say, now I'm a menace. And Pac said it best. Until I became famous in your children's eyes.
They want to call us a menace. They
Exactly.
want to call us.
Exactly.
Black
What was
and brown
Dutch
menace.
Schultz and them doing? They was running around shooting.
They don't want to call the Kennedys. They don't want to call
Bruh.
the people who
we
listen. At
doing
end
the
of
same
day,
thing.
At the end of the day, they dumped that tea off the boat. It was a criminal act.
Right.
Criminal
Like,
act.
at the end
They
of the day,
said,
like, I don't care how you look at it.
Right.
They told these people, I do not want to give you my tax money no more. And if you come over here across the Atlantic Ocean, we're going to show you better than we could tell you. Right. And they started a war. Like, what are we talking about?
The crazy
for economic
Actually,
freedom.
Yes, this country, like, and that's why I've been out of prison 16 years. And obviously before then, my headspace was where it was at. But the last 16 years, man, it's not Stevie Wonder could see what's going on. Ray Charles, if he was alive, can see what it is.
Right.
The hit is, like you said, what we're gonna do about it. My biggest thing, guys, is education.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the reconstruction area now, where right now we all talking about equity, we talking about race, we talking about reform, we talking about all this stuff. At the end of the day, we need to be educated. Right. I was blessed that I took the time for the last 16 years to slowly educate myself. I didn't go to college. I didn't go to the big not-for-profit organizations because I wasn't a part of the kitty that they reached out for. But I was at the ex-offender reentry forums. I was at the parent reentry forums. I was at the juvenile reentry forum because I work with juveniles. At the end of the day, it's a game. I am not mad at the game. GAME, ghetto attitude, manipulating environment. I'm not mad. I'm mad that we won't wake up and get involved.
And play the damn
game. Get
Right.
in. And you own property. This
Well,
one
you
owns
have
a
to
business.
learn the
one owns
game. That's a
You
part
gotta
of the
be
thing
taught.
too.
Right.
The
You
game
gotta
is
be
to be
taught.
sold, not to be told.
Told.
That's what they've been giving us. No, the game is to be given.
Yes.
And we're going to charge the other people for it.
Right.
Exactly.
Because that's what it is. It's just information that we don't know, and people are living and making livelihoods off of the fact we don't know. It's okay.
When I talk to
Not no more.
Not no more.
my
Not no
best
more.
friend is doing 75 years right now in Trenton. But when I talk to just guys like that in general, and I tell them that in towns like Newark, your mayor chooses your police director. Most of them don't even know that. Mm-hmm. But we sit up here in these towns talking about racist police directors. They are appointed in black towns by black politicians.
Right.
So again, these folks like 24, 37 don't know that. So we got to be willing to have those conversations to people that do know that. And that's why I think this platform is important. Right. That's one of the reasons. Another reason why I thought that having these weekly shows were going to be important, because I know that we're going to say that. Mm-hmm. We also have to start doing it. Michelle Obama, a female, can sit at a table with all those white and black powerful people and say, you know what? I don't leave a table allowing a fraud to think that they fooled me. We got to stop doing that. We have the most forgiving race ever, the most tolerating race in the history of this country.
Right.
We have to stop doing that. We got to start saying no. Stop calling out Pookie and Ray Ray. Tony over there doing some bullshit he shouldn't be doing while he in office.
And can we
You get what I'm saying? Period.
Can we start calling out the gatekeepers?
He effing up the game.
Right.
We got to
Can we
start
call
saying
them
that.
out? Can we
Right.
call out the
More
gatekeepers?
importantly.
The
Right.
people who won't bring,
protect
who
them,
won't
who protect
liberate,
them.
who
Yeah.
got the information and won't bring this
Absolutely.
stuff forward, because I had somebody tell me before, they like, nah, man, but we gotta pay. She a lawyer, so he or she is a lawyer, so we gotta pay them.
Right.
Yeah, I watched the same lawyers do stuff for pro bono. Then I watched lawyers leave the law energy and go into the nonprofit world. You know, like
What
are
Cory
we
Booker
talking
bragged about for the launch of his political career? How many years he was a what? pro bono lawyer.
Listen.
Me, him, Sidney,
Listen, I got
probably you
lawyers
had more
for
work
lawyers.
experience than Cory Booker when he was
So you don't go broke.
elected.
I got lawyers for lawyers. I don't trust lawyers, and we need to show people this. No,
But
we
there
need
are
to-
lawyers we can
Do we need
trust.
to
We
show
gotta
people?
find. Yeah,
No,
come
you
on,
can
yeah.
trust some, but
And we
I-
gotta cultivate
but I
our own
keep-
lawyers.
but
How
I-
about
You
that?
can trust them, but on the same token,
That cultivate our lawyers.
So I was talking to y'all earlier. I went to 2 trials. So we know that in our criminal justice system, 95% conviction rate. Why? Because most people cop out. Like, it ain't that they went to trial and lost. They copped out. I went to 2 trials, man, and I sat there with that paid lawyer, and I know both trials. He asked me the same question both times. What's our defense? I'm
First
paying
of all,
you. So
Right.
wait, hold up. That's one. The second thing, when we actually was at the trial, it was a 1-2 buckle shoe. It wasn't him up there by himself. Oh no, it's me. Remember? Oh, that cop lying. Oh, he said, and me and him going back.
So let's
at the
talk
end
about
of the
that
day-
system. Let's talk about that system, right? When you get a lawyer, what happens? You go first, right? Because that lawyer may have to go to another courtroom or something, and they want.
it ain't that. It's
No, it's the system.
No,
so
it's
he
the
can
system,
make more
man.
money.
Yeah, I'm
so
about to
they
say.
want him to be able to get in and out of.
Bucky got another day. It's money.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because when you get a lawyer, right, the prosecutor look at you different because you paid into the
I'm
system.
about to go deeper. I picked
You
my
paid-
lawyer. I picked my lawyer because he was the former prosecutor.
Exactly. And then the prosecutor.
So he know the game already.
That's all I
That's
knew.
it.
I
That's
just
it.
knew that he knew game.
Right.
Like, I don't know why he left.
And then he
why-
friends
I
with
know
the
he got
judge.
None of
in
my
with him.
business.
Him and the judge go golfing together.
I just knew that much.
And when you pay into the system, you show me you have an understanding of the system, so you get a better, right? But people walk into there
But
not
which
even
goes back-
understanding
which goes back
that
to the-
there's a system going on within that court of money,
There's a
which is
system,
all
yeah.
about making sure that the money circulates from the bail to the lawyer.
Which goes back to the
from the lawyer
slant.
to the
Which
judge.
goes back to the slant. We can't afford to be paying $400 an hour for hours and
Hell
hours and
no.
hours of BS
Hell
stuff.
no.
And so when they do that and they put us in those situations and you do buy into the system, they're breaking down your family unit. They're
They
breaking
break
down your
right, right.
and then you
Breaking-
can't start over. And then you want to get into the sentencing. But then when to your point, and to bridging this gap, Cliff Minor is a prime example of that. This is a black historian, someone who made a lot of history here. First black this, first black that, and the first one I know in the history of black prosecutors that was sending black men to jail that weren't guilty of the crime that he was covering up another one for. That's why, while running for mayor,
Right.
we had people that applauded that, supported that. It don't change what good he did. But shit, we gonna still drag on R. Kelly. We gotta start talking about these people who
Helped him. Who
but,
knew?
but not just that. When come on, from a distance, a fool can't tell a difference. So what about people who can clearly see?
Right.
If we got our first black
Niggas
doing
say
this,
culture.
and our leader, our trailblazer doing it, not what example it stands for us. It gives them, the excuse to say all of them like that. So I got a right to speak on it, a right to say something about it, and say that's a part of the problem. We got
MLK
another
say?
black man not helping, putting more people in jail that ain't do
MLK
shit.
said, I'm more concerned about the person that's quiet.
Right.
I'm more concerned about my man in the back who
Right.
ain't
The
saying
spook
nothing.
that sat by the door.
Right.
Listen, one of the things that I realized, like, it's incumbent upon me. That's why this young man is sitting next to me, because when you introduced him to me, and as we took him, because it is not good enough for me to sit here and try to write a manuscript for somebody to follow. He's supposed to soak this knowledge up day by day, right with me. That's why
In
we
my
write-
office, I call it in-service training. We don't have time for it.
we don't got time for it. Part of we don't need permission is that
Right.
I ain't got time to train them. So Ade, what time you get off work? I'm picking you up, get in the car, and we're gonna go on this ride.
TTG, train to go.
Ready, go.
Like,
It's on the job training.
when it's time
Okay.
to run, do we ask my man why he ran?
Nah.
Or do we go ahead and
Keep
run,
running.
get to the house, like, bro, what was he running for?
Oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. All right.
And at 25, nobody was trying to teach us how to run.
Right.
Nobody was. They were saying, "Slow down. You might be running too." They was
Doing
telling
too
me.
much.
They was
Stay in
telling
your
me.
lane.
I was elected. They was telling me. They was telling me I was doing too much. They wanted me to come to lunch and dinner. One dude kept asking me to go to lunch all the time. This motherfucker was wearing a wire. So you was a black man trying to take me down at 25 years old. Keep trying to go to lunch.
And had nothing to
I'm
take you
glad
down
I eat my
for.
own food.
I'm
and
gonna
I'm like,
create
bro,
you in a situation.
I'm like, what is you even trying to take me to lunch for,
Right.
bro? You ain't even got no money to take me to
Right.
lunch. Bro, get out of here. You was setting people up. Man,
Right.
get out of here.
Right.
That's how
So-
crooked this game is. that they will send your own to take you out, and they'd be so jammed up that they come for you.
Well, let's start too. The game don't move by itself. When you open up a Game Boy, you got to move those pieces.
There you go.
Regardless of what the rules are.
There you go.
So there's human beings that are enforcing that narrative, right? And enabling that narrative.
That's right.
This Columbia University professor, I know we like to quote that, and I know we're going to be on Bloomfield, so we quote some of these people, but a guy named Eric, he deals with a lot of, the fact that we have people in spaces in this country that are like hired as coordinators for voting rights and things like that, that's weird, right? But he said this: things that can be achieved are things that can be taken away. It reminds me of what we're talking about now, but also a story about cut creators and Omar, and when we went through the Sharp James and Cory Booker transition. He said to me one day, he said, you know something? I respected Sharp a lot, but I understood the reason why he allowed me to do things, whether it was through permits, whether it was through, you know, how we can cut corners with different things, we don't have to enforce certain policies. It's because at any point in time, he had the opportunity to take it away from me.
Right.
Because if I'm not doing it the right way, one, you didn't teach me the right way. You're not requiring me to do it whatever the right way is. Not that it was some, you know, it's little things. If you got to go down to City Hall and get this, get that, little things
That's
like
just
that.
what Sean Barry. Don't even worry about it. I got
But
it.
the power. The manipulation of the power.
You go the opposite way,
Meanwhile-
I'll go shut that shit down.
Meanwhile,
Versus us teaching the
Yes.
brother how
to
to
have
do
your
it the right
own
way.
place.
so that nobody can bother you. That's
Right,
that's
right.
how
And
you're
you
supposed to
can
be taught.
stand on your
So,
own-
and so that's
own
not
book.
enough. So that's not enough.
And you know the next time you go open up a shop to do all these things
everything.
the right way from
But
the
see,
beginning.
but
And
so
now you can open up more shops. Now you
So-
can become a franchise.
Right,
so
right.
when
When I
we
can be your franchise.
So
Instead of having to have the hookup just to get open.
So that's the point. So that's not a knock against Sharp. That's not a
No.
knock against anybody because we all have done cut a corner for somebody with
Yeah.
something. However, I am one of those people. I think you are too, Sydney. Teaching them the right way. Yeah, you can do it this way, but this
I
is
started
also
out
the
by
other
I'm a
way.
Christian. Teach a man to fish. That'll do way
But it's
much
one-
more
That's
than
the
giving
purpose.
him something to eat.
So-
It's one thing to cut corners. It's another thing to use that as a tactic. In
As
your
a way of
community.
life.
But
Right.
that's the way it's
and against
implemented
your own
in
That
people.
was manipulation.
And against
Right.
your own people. And so what he said was, he said, I know people give, you know, the book
If it's
administration.
legal and not immoral, and you're not committing a crime, it's nothing wrong, because
Right.
at the end you're supposed to bend stuff.
Well, that's why
When you-
policy. It gives
when
you
you-
room
But
to
this
do
goes
it.
back to one of our favorite
But don't
quotes.
use it against me.
But this goes back
Don't
to
use
one of our
it to
favorite
suppress
quotes.
me. You know
This
what I mean?
goes back to
Yeah.
one of our favorite quotes
What's
as we
that?
bring this home. Really, this goes one. Me and we talked about this. Our brother, my mentor, my leader, my brother, his oldest daughter is a mentor of mine. I feel so connected to this man just by being able to talk with her and her dropping gems. She dropped gems on me like Carl. And he said it. He clearly said, how can you thank a man for giving you something that's
I like it.
already yours? It's already, and that's what WDNP is all
When I
about.
Googled that
Stop
earlier, some of that
asking
came up.
people
That's
for
yours.
stuff that's
Already
already
yours.
ours.
No, that's
And I
yours.
write by our creators by being born
That
in
goes
this
back
earth.
in your
By
values,
God,
too.
we have certain rights, inalienable
Right.
rights that we're born with that we have to stop asking other people for that permission.
And then when you
to
realize
exercise
we're
them
the
rights.
greatest, it's a fact. We're the greatest race on this country and on this earth. Period.
But back to your point too, it's incumbent upon our leaders to inspire hope, because we can believe it all we want, but we have to see that hope of Obama, that
But
hope
see,
of
the hope-
Jay-Z,
but see, that's what
that
I'm saying.
hope of different men that I
who's-
met along this
who's-
way
who's-
that are really God-fearing men that walk this life. Because see, I was dejected after that lady. I ran all around the country, found black men that put it all on the
I gotta
line.
find out who that is.
That put it all on the line, and they lost the elections, right? But they still put it all on the line, and they inspire hope in me that, and they're older men.
But here's the thing,
So
here's
that
the thing.
pushed me to know I had to come back and do my walk, and keep
You're
running.
not entitled. You're not
Here's
entitled
the
to
thing,
win.
though.
You know,
Right?
It's
You're
not
not-
just hope,
But
though.
somebody gotta lose.
That's
But what
right.
are you fighting for?
And that's what
What are you
even
fighting
in their
for?
losses, the men inspire.
You gotta
a
get
whole
knocked
bunch
down
of-
and get back up. That's
Right.
the ingredient for a great leader.
But we can't have hope without action.
But I'm also saying we also can't just live off hope.
Right.
And I'm also suggesting
What we're
stop
saying
letting
together.
people blind us to hope.
Right.
We already had hope.
So-
We've been great at that's what I was saying. We've been great at everything.
So, but
when
let
they
me-
thought golf wasn't gonna happen, it happened. Everything.
I do be want to say, because I love when we go there, because we so diverse in our own people.
Right.
We have not always had hope.
That's right.
Because I was hopeless, and so many of
That's
us are
right.
still hopeless.
That's
right
right.
this
Still
second.
hopeless.
Right
You
this
had
second. No,
examples of
No, let him
Obama
finish.
wasn't
Go.
the first.
No, but
No, I
I'm
get what you're
saying.
saying.
We don't even care about Obama.
That's right.
Like,
I'm speaking to his point about Obama.
No.
No.
That was just one example. He was
I'm just talking about hope.
Period.
Right,
That's
right.
it.
Like when I got that pardon, bro, in 2018, I don't obviously share with y'all how much input of inboxes and messages I got for the hope that I even got that. Like, and then to now people pay attention to what hope looks like, because, like I said, it's people who've been, the recidivism rate is 85% back in 2004. I can imagine what it is now. So the hope of going back to staying out of prison and having a lifestyle that's productive and constructive, big bro. Like,
Bro, all across this country,
black
kids are born with no hope. Black kids are born with no hope.
But you are a person. You are a person
seeing
that
hope.
First, I'm not disagreeing with an aspect of that point.
Yes,
but I think that when I say you can't live off work, it's just like them saying, when we're gonna go spiritual, God helps those that help themselves. We dance to it and do 2 steps to it, but not really understand what that means. So hope without work, hope without deed,
that's where I
hope
was going
without
with that.
Right,
does
right.
not get you
But
rid
the
of
Bible tells you faith without works is dead.
We start
faith without
That's all
works
I'm
is
We
saying.
dead.
start dream
That's all I'm
chasing.
saying.
We
Yes.
start hope.
But
you
you
gotta
put
get
out
into
work.
You did the work.
No, we would
and
still
you
be
deserved
slaves
it, and
without
that's
hope.
why you got something that very few people have an opportunity to get.
But we would
Very
still
few
be
people.
slaves without hope.
No,
It
no,
took
but I'm saying
hundreds
we
of years.
can't just live off
It
hope.
did take
That's
50
it.
years.
Because-
It took hundreds of
You
years.
can't sit
for
your ass
people
on
to
the chair
believe
hoping.
that we were free.
Let
We
me be
should be
honest.
free.
We're talking about hope.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about no pardon.
Right.
The brother told me,
had the
told me
vision.
straight up. He said, "Bro, you done did so much work, man.
Mhm.
I know it's possible for you to get it, because he had the hope because he's seen it done already. I never seen it. I never seen nobody with a pardon, so I didn't even think of. I'm trying to
You
get
the
an
second person.
expungement.
But let me tell you about
He
exposure.
gave me the
Second
hope
person.
But
to
let me-
understand that there was a possibility.
And what you do?
go
Did you
from
just
there.
sit there?
No,
But
I
let me
did
tell
the
you-
work.
Put in that
But let
damn
me
work.
tell you-
That's
But
right.
the hope
And you
came
did.
first.
But let me tell you about
action
what
together.
And you
exposure.
shared
But
that
let me-
information
together.
But
too.
let me tell you about what exposure did for me. Because the only reason I thought it is because me and you were sitting in the damn state house. And I'm looking up at this shit. I'm like, oh
Why
my
we
God.
here?
Why are we here? This shit is boring. This shit is cool.
in the back of the room.
But we gotta stay here.
Bringing parents to testify.
We gotta
Let's
stay.
make this work.
We gotta stay. We gotta fight. And I'm sitting here
Yeah.
like, damn, Christy on his way out. I'm just thinking of everything. My mind is going and I'm like, wait a minute.
That's what's up.
Bro, you the quintessential motherfucker for a pardon. Because if anybody else deserves a pardon, then the man who's been out here for 15 years organizing parents, and now we're in Trenton, trained parents, got them testifying.
No pun intended. Being the change already.
And he's sitting in the back,
Already. Absolutely
not
sitting.
being a puppet master, but being like, yo, you go because I've done this enough.
Right.
But if you
Right.
need me to go, I can step right in
Right.
and pinch hit for you. But I'm gonna let y'all go because it don't always need to be about me. So in that moment, that's where God hits opportunity exposure.
Well,
because of my exposure,
and you're not self-centered.
I knew that.
You're not
wait a
self-centered.
minute. A Republican governor on his way out, a guy like you who's helped this Republican
Right.
push his cause, you're the perfect person for somebody to put that application on his desk.
Right.
Because he should sign off on it because it's a no-brainer. And he's on his way out where he's highly unpopular and he don't care. So helping another black man from Newark that's doing right that helped me might be the easiest sign off for him. And it ended up happening. But if I never had the exposure, the opportunity to even sit there, or if I never even had
you didn't
the
have
hope,
the desire
the
to
hope
empower
that you could
somebody.
do that.
Even this
Yeah.
too though, the opportunity that me and you both was doing the work at the same
At
time.
the same
We
time.
didn't know each other
To sit there.
until we did the work.
We sitting there.
Until we jumped in the trip
Right.
to
This is
do
why
the
we're all
work.
here now.
And
Right.
that's
To do
how-
this work.
And that goes back to even to your point where, like you said, bringing those parents to testify wasn't for political theater as much as it was to give them the exposure.
To the
this is
parents.
what happens. And now when
You
we
pay these
leave,
people.
now let's go study up. Now let's go
And
we gonna come
tighten
back and
up.
smack
So
them
we
again.
come back and smack like that. But that's where I think this is where we go with this economic, bringing it home to we don't need permission. That at the end of the day, we got enough information.
That's
we
right.
got only thing we got to do is put our own curriculums together, our own. That's why I see these.
And we got enough
politicians.
money in our community. We give it out.
Power is organized people and organized resources.
We give it out. We don't recycle it.
We don't recycle.
They say church is 2 or more. So
Right.
like at the end of the day, it's on us.
It's 4 here now.
And he
That's
said
on us.
build an altar, not a church, right? Because we've been preaching the gospel right now.
And we don't
today.
need to keep building people up to go sit at other tables.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because we got our own table
We
that we can
create the
invite them
table.
to.
That's right.
Because that's business too, right?
That's
Leverage, supply and demand. You need to be the person that's supplying, not the person in demand, because that's the leverage.
Right.
We always the person, the community that's in that is in demand. We're not the ones supplying anything, but we've been supplying it because we built this country.
So here we are, right here, right now, to those listening, saying we're supplying the table. So pull up.
Tune in.
Pull up.
But if you need permission, this is not the podcast. Start and end with that.
We gotta go ask somebody to do this. Then
Don't come.
This is my last comment. I'll just say, as this is Black History Month, we're going into Women's History Month. This was and 2021. This is the time for this. And so having the commitment and the foresight to do it is an inspiration to me, Sydney. And I think that
Well, let's be clear. I got 2 daughters. You got a daughter.
Yeah.
You have a daughter.
we got a lot to. We got a lot.
We teach it. You got 3 daughters.
We have to.
I'm
we
teaching
gotta
my
be the
women
change.
not to ask for permission.
Well, and we talked about that too. But so listen, just facts, right? 151 years, February 3rd, anniversary of the 15th Amendment, and we're still having this conversation today.
Right.
Imagine that. That's all older than all our ages put together, probably, right? 101 anniversary of the 19th Amendment, and this is how it's phrased: when women won the right to vote. That was black and white.
That's an inalienable right.
Yes. And 55 year anniversary. This is the one that this is why we have to do this. And we got to be serious about it and relentless in the effort of people. If you're not about that, and if you can't be about that, because everybody, it can't be a stand-up Negro. But
Right.
don't hate on the stand-up Negroes if you're a sit-down one, because
Right.
everybody got to play their position too. But 55th year anniversary of since 1965, when the Voting Act was cemented, giving us the right to vote. Just 65 years ago. I'm 38. Oldest in the room is 43.
44. Get it right. 45. May 23rd.
You put 45
We
on the
take
dot,
you
bro.
and put out all day age together. That's
Still.
when it was cemented.
When is the cement?
Right.
We got a lot more things to cement.
Pull
in
up.
other words.
Pull up.
Right. It's
Pull
good.
up. We don't need permission.
That's right, and we got a lot of things going on. Definitely a lot of things going on.
Yeah, all
What
day.
you
When
got
does
going
it
on?
drop? So, well, we do. But
Oh yeah.
let's talk-
So this episode, the audio will drop Thursday. We're recording on a Wednesday.
Right.